pieces, the show, I think, there's the pieces that went through the fire, that were affected by the fire. And of course, there's a lot of pieces. I don't know whether it's true. I heard this crazy thing a while back. Michael Govan, an expert. And Michael Govan said to me at one point, I don't know, I was somewhere, and then he came up to say, hey, sorry, your house burned and all that. And then he said, do you know that more artists and filmmakers and musicians lived in Altadena than any place in the country? That seems pretty crazy, although it might be close to true, or it might have some relevance. So all these artists that moved up there at some point, and we've lived there for 30 years, or 35 years, I guess, something like that. But so a lot of work was just burned up, just gone. And in our house, like all the notebooks I had for the last 3-4 years gone, drawings gone, work of other artists gone. So, there's this thing of work just gone. And then there's this thing of work that sort of somehow survived in some form or another. And I think it was kind of like, okay, the show is about, the first thing was work that survived and actually felt the fire, they felt it. And then, of course, the Burn Me painting by Wally Hedrick, I mean, all of a sudden that was just such a weird coincidence that it said "Burn Me" on it, right? And it's this flag, and it seems so potent and coincidental that we're living in this situation of the edge of fascism, and if not fascism, and then the fire happens, right? And so there's these two really powerful emotions, and that painting seems so significant. The other painting that Karen and I had in the house was a flag painting that Wally Hedrick made in 1953, American flag painting, and he wrote peace over it. And that was a protest to the Korean War. And then at some point he starts painting over the top of his paintings black, and then paints every time they go to war, he paints them again. And we lost 2 of those that we had in the house, and this one here, which is one of the earliest ones, survived. So there was this tie-in, and then there's this thing of just the political direction. And of course, there's so much work made that could be in a show like this. There's so much work that survived the fire that could have been in. So it got sort of very close to those who, the 3 of us, and people that we know, and artworks that we know, and people who we're close to, like Sean or something, right? So, and John. So I think there's this, and then we didn't really, there's a lot of work that might have gone through a fire and wasn't really touched by it, but of course there's emotion around all of that. But I think, and peculiar how the subject of black came up, how black became a kind of theme, and not through all of it by any means, but it was in there, right? The subject of blackness, and maybe, the video I showed, there's a lot of black, the black painting of Molly's, the black sculpture of Sean's, and then there's these pieces like the swing and the snail, and every piece in a way has a story. Every piece has a connection to something, and they're all somewhat tied together. The cash register is the first sculpture I made in 1964, and it came from a location that burned. So it's it's been connected to fires before.